When you were 7, summer vacation felt like it lasted forever, but now a whole year disappears before you've even opened the calendar. This isn't just nostalgia talking. It's one of the strangest, most consistent illusions your brain will ever play on you. And in the last few years, scientists have finally started to figure out exactly why it happens. Let's start with the simplest explanation, the math of your own life. When you were 5 years old, one single year was 20% of your entire existence. That's a massive chunk. No wonder it felt endless. But by the time you're 50, that same 12 months is just 2% of your life. Your brain is measuring time the only way it knows how, relative to everything you've already lived through. Psychologists call this proportional theory, and it means every year you survive literally shrinks in size compared to the ones before it. But here's the twist. The math alone doesn't fully explain the feeling because time doesn't shrink evenly. In 2005, researchers Mark Whitman and Sandra Lenhoff surveyed nearly 500 people aged 14 to 94 about how fast time felt to them. For short stretches, a week, a month, almost everyone said time felt fast, young or old. But for long stretches like a decade, only the older participants said it flew by. Something deeper than simple math was going on, something about how memory itself gets built. So neuroscientists went looking inside the aging brain itself for an answer. In September 2025, researchers at the Cambridge Center for Aging and Neuroscience ran a striking experiment. They put 577 people, aged 18 to 88, into an fMRI scanner. Then they had every single person watch the same 8-minute clip from an old Alfred Hitchcock show. That clip was chosen because it makes almost every human brain fire in a remarkably similar pattern. Using a machine learning model, the team tracked how often each brain shifted between distinct neural states while watching. A neural state shift is basically your brain filing away a new mental chapter, a new scene, a new moment worth separating from the last. And the result was striking. Older brains switched between these states far less often than younger ones, in the exact same 8 minutes. In other words, older brains were mentally cutting the same experience into fewer, longer chapters. Fewer chapters means fewer landmarks to look back on, and fewer landmarks makes any stretch of time feel like it went by in a blur. Duke University researcher Adrian Bejan has a physical explanation for why this slowdown happens at all. As you age, the networks of neurons in your brain grow larger and more complex. That means electrical signals have to travel farther through more tangled pathways to get where they're going. Longer travel distance means slightly slower signal speed, and slower signals mean your brain processes each moment a little less sharply. Bejan compares it to a flip book. The fewer images your brain captures per second, the faster the whole book seems to flip by. A child's brain is essentially recording life in a higher frame rate than an adult's. But there's a second, very human piece of this puzzle, routine. University of Michigan psychologist Cindy Lustig points out that adult life tends to flatten into repetition. The same commute, the same desk, the same evening. Your brain doesn't bother storing vivid, separate memories for days that all look the same. So when you look back, those months quietly melt together into one blurry mass instead of standing out individually. This is exactly why a 2-week trip somewhere new can feel longer in memory than 6 routine months back home. Every unfamiliar street, food, and face during that trip forces your brain to lay down dense, detailed memories. And richly detailed memories in hindsight feel like they took up more time, even though the clock says otherwise. This effect isn't just personal. It shows up in surveys across entire populations. Psychologist Ruth Ogden surveyed over 900 adults and found 77% agreed that Christmas seems to arrive faster every single year. Curious whether this was just a Western holiday stress thing. Her team asked an Iraqi sample the same question about Ramadan. They got almost the identical result. Proof this isn't cultural. It's built into how human memory works everywhere. So if your brain is quietly speeding up your life through routine, is there any way to slow it back down? Researchers agree on one thing. The fix isn't rest, it's novelty. Taking a different route to work, trying an unfamiliar dish, or picking up a new hobby forces your brain out of autopilot. Radboud University's Linda Geerligs, who co-authored the Cambridge study, says new experiences and meaningful connection are what make time feel rich again. Even something as small as truly paying attention to an ordinary moment instead of scrolling through it can plant a memory that stands out later. Because in the end, your life isn't measured by how many days you survived. It's measured by how many of those days you actually noticed. So if you don't want this year to disappear in a blur, go find something new to pay attention to today. If this changed the way you think about your own memory, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more of the science behind how your mind actually works.